We all know that God is always present in our daily lives, in everything we do and experience. We believe that God is always by our side. But have you ever wondered, how is He interacting with us? In this video, we will explore the signs that God sends to guide and protect us. Watch until the end to find the answer and feel this divine interaction in your own daily life. Before we begin exploring the signs of how God is interacting with our lives, if you find this content helpful and want to continue receiving meaningful messages, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any videos. And now, let's begin with the first sign. The first sign, the feeling of peace. One of the clearest signs that God is interacting with us is the profound sense of peace that many people experience during moments of prayer or reflection on Him. It is an inner state that is not merely silence or quiet, but a serenity that encompasses all emotions, helping us face difficulties and anxieties without being shaken. When we pray, we are not just speaking to Him, but also creating a space for our souls to calm down, so that God can comfort and guide us. This peace is not a fleeting feeling, but a lasting inner state that allows us to feel God's presence amid the events of life. This peace is not affected by the chaos of the outside world, but it exists and grows in the hearts of those who turn to God for refuge. Those who experience this peace often share that, although life around them remains full of challenges, they can feel an invisible protection, as if God is embracing them in His loving arms. This is entirely different from the fleeting peace we find in temporary pleasures, because it stems from a firm belief that God is orchestrating everything according to His will. The story of Jesus calming the storm at sea is a vivid example of this feeling of peace. When the disciples were terrified amid the stormy sea, Jesus simply said, "Peace, be still." And immediately the wind ceased, and the sea became calm. This story is not just about the miraculous power of Jesus over nature, but it is also a symbol of the peace He brings to our souls. No matter how stormy life gets, when God is present, true peace will reign. I once heard the story of a woman going through the sorrowful events of losing a loved one. In those dark times, she said her soul felt torn apart by pain and loss. However, in her despair, she turned to prayer. As she immersed herself in prayer, she felt a peace that she could not explain. The sorrow remained, but in that moment, she knew she was not alone, that God was with her, giving her the strength to face reality. She continued to say that this peace accompanied her throughout her journey of overcoming the pain, like an invisible but incredibly powerful source of comfort. We can see that the peace God grants does not make all difficulties disappear, but it changes how we face them. When our hearts are at peace, the challenges of life are no longer insurmountable obstacles. That is the power of God. He does not remove difficulties, but He grants us the peace to overcome those challenges. In modern life, we often seek peace by trying to control our circumstances, such as reducing work, indulging in temporary pleasures, or avoiding difficulties. But true peace can only come from within, where we feel the presence and guidance of God. When we rely on God, we will see that it is not our circumstances that create peace, but it is our faith in God that helps us stand firm in the face of all life's events. The peace that comes from God is a reminder that we are not alone, and we do not need to carry everything by ourselves. When we open our hearts, pray, and trust in God's guidance, that peace will spread throughout our lives, like a bright light in the darkness, helping us navigate and overcome all the storms. The second sign, a chance encounter. In life, we often encounter situations that at first seem random, but upon reflection, these events bring the help, advice, or direction we desperately need. These encounters may happen with strangers, old friends, or even someone we never expected. This is how God can work through others to help, guide, and lift us during our most difficult times. It is no coincidence that we meet certain people at specific moments. God often uses seemingly chance encounters to bring relief and guidance to our lives. This is especially clear when we are in difficult circumstances, feeling lost and unsure of where to go. At that moment, a piece of advice, a shared story, or help from someone will appear, changing our perspective on the problem, or even changing our lives. God does not appear physically, but He can use those around us to carry out His will. When we feel lost, confused, or hopeless, perhaps God is sending someone to encourage, motivate, and help us continue on our journey. These people are not always close ones. They can be colleagues, old friends, or even complete strangers. And in those moments, we realize that there are arrangements we could not have foreseen. Many people have experienced chance encounters, and it is these encounters that have changed their lives. Some recount that in moments of feeling stuck, with no way out, they unexpectedly met an old friend, someone who had been by their side in the past. The friend did not know that the person they were talking to was going through hardships, but their shared stories about life and how they overcame challenges turned out to be exactly what the person needed to hear at that very moment. That seemingly chance encounter became a beacon of light in the darkness of despair. They realized that God had arranged that meeting as a way to show them they were not alone, and that someone had gone through similar challenges before. The advice, though simple, carried with it encouragement, giving them the motivation to keep moving forward through the hardship. What is interesting here is that those who offer help often do not realize they are tools of God. They are simply acting out of kindness, speaking ordinary words, but those words carry immense meaning to the person in need. That is how God intervenes. He uses the people around us, the seemingly random circumstances, to guide us on the right path, opening new doors for our lives. When we face unexpected encounters, let us not dismiss them as random events. Instead, open your heart and accept them, because in those moments, God may be using someone to bring salvation, help, or even answers to the questions we are pondering. Through these encounters, we realize that, no matter the circumstance, God always has a way to help and guide us. He doesn't need to appear directly. Instead, He uses those around us to convey messages of love and salvation. Those moments, when closely examined, are clear evidence of God's presence in even the smallest aspects of life. The third sign, dreams or visions. There are times in life when everything becomes difficult, or we feel lost. Dreams or images that appear in our minds may carry powerful messages from God. Many people have experienced the feeling that God is speaking to them through dreams or unexpected images, guiding them to find solutions or direction in life. Dreams or visions may be a spiritual means through which God speaks to us. They could be guidance, helping us solve current difficulties, or advice about something important that is about to happen. Sometimes, dreams may be simple, but they leave a deep impression. It is like a bright light, opening a path for us in the dark of night. The images and hidden meanings in dreams help us discover answers that we may have been searching for all along. Dreams are not merely reflections of the subconscious, but in many cases, they are the way God sends messages to humans. The images evoked in dreams can be signs to remind, guide, or prepare us for what is to come. God may use dreams to inspire us, provide new ideas, or help us find direction in life. This is not only a way for Him to convey messages, but also a means by which He intervenes in our lives directly, yet very naturally. Dreams or visions often appear when we are in a state of relaxation, when the mind is no longer preoccupied with daily thoughts and worries. That is when the subconscious easily receives messages from God. When we wake up and reflect on the dream, sometimes we realize that the images within are not merely our own imagination, but carry a greater meaning. A clear direction for the problems we are facing. Not every dream contains a divine message, but there are specific dreams that come when we are seeking guidance or feeling stuck. These dreams often come with a clear sense that this is no ordinary dream. It may contain an image, a scene, or a situation that makes us wake up feeling that something important is being communicated. God may use dreams or visions to help us better understand the issues we are dealing with, or point out the path we need to take. That is how He helps us when we cannot find answers through reason or through everyday experiences. In these dreams, we may recognize things we had never thought of, wise ideas to solve problems, or even feel the peace and encouragement we need. Many people share that when facing great anxieties, they have had dreams that, upon waking, they felt relieved, peaceful, and knew they had found the answer. The images in the dream are not always clear, but they often leave a deep mark, a sense of direction that they had not previously been able to see. Dreams or visions in the mind may be messages from God when we cannot find solutions through prayer or reflection. That is when God directly speaks to us through images that we easily sense but need time to decode. These images often relate to things we have experienced or future situations that we need to prepare for. Therefore, do not quickly dismiss strange dreams or sudden images in your mind, because God may be sending you an important message. These dreams are often a source of inspiration and strong spiritual motivation, helping us overcome difficult times and see more clearly God's plan for our lives. And the story of Joseph in the Bible is a prime example of this. Joseph, one of the well-known figures in the Old Testament, was given a special gift, the ability to interpret dreams. From a young age, Joseph had prophetic dreams. Once, he dreamed that he and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain in the field, and Joseph's sheaf stood upright while his brothers' sheaves bowed down to it. This made his brothers angry, thinking he was being arrogant, assuming they would have to bow to him. In another dream, Joseph saw the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowing down to him, which caused even more suspicion and alienation from his family. These dreams were not random images, but they were a spiritual preparation for Joseph and his family. Many years later, when Joseph was sold into slavery and went through countless hardships, God gave him the ability to interpret the dream of Pharaoh. Through this wisdom, Joseph explained that Egypt would experience 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine, and because of this, he was appointed as the ruler of the land, saving the people from famine. It was at this time that Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to seek help, and they bowed down before him without realizing that it was the same brother they had sold years before. This story is not just a coincidence, but it is evidence that God used dreams to guide Joseph, helping him overcome trials and fulfill his mission to save an entire people. We can see that dreams are truly a means through which God conveys messages. They are not just fleeting images that appear in our minds, but sometimes they are reminders, ways for God to guide and protect us. In daily life, many people may also experience similar dreams or visions. Sometimes we do not immediately realize their meaning, but when we reflect and trust in God, we will see the guiding light. These dreams may bring us comfort, inspiration, and help us find answers to the challenges we are facing. The fourth sign, unexpected ideas or inspiration. Sometimes we are faced with a difficult situation, not knowing how to resolve it, or we are searching for a new direction in life. Then suddenly, a creative idea or a solution appears in our mind. These are not natural thoughts that we can easily come up with. They often come at unexpected moments, such as when we are praying or reflecting on life. These ideas are not just ordinary solutions. They often appear when we have tried everything and still failed. Those unexpected moments are like a ray of light shining, showing God's guidance in our lives. When we feel stuck, God can open new paths, helping us break free from confusion. Most notably, these ideas often come with a sense of confidence and peace, as if we know for sure that this is how God is guiding us. One of the classic stories in the Bible that clearly shows how God provides unexpected ideas or inspiration is the story of Moses. When he was called to free the Israelites from Egyptian slavery, Moses was once a prince of Egypt, but after killing an Egyptian soldier to protect his people, he had to flee and live as a shepherd in the desert for many years. During this time, Moses no longer thought about changing the lives of the Israelites. He had given up the idea of doing something great. But one day, while tending the sheep, he saw a bush that was burning, but strangely, the bush remained intact, without any damage. This caught his attention and made him stop to observe. And at that moment, he heard the voice of God. He said, "Moses, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." It was from that burning bush that God called Moses and gave him a seemingly impossible mission to lead the Israelites out of Egyptian slavery and bring them to the promised land. Moses at that time could not believe what he was hearing. He felt inadequate and feared that the Israelites would not listen to him. But God encouraged and inspired him through promises and signs, assuring him that he would be with him and help him overcome every challenge. What is remarkable here is that Moses, in a quiet life in the desert, was unexpectedly given a great idea by God to liberate an entire people. It was something Moses had never thought of in his circumstances, but when God guided him, he realized he was not alone. That unexpected inspiration led to great changes in his life and the lives of the Israelites. This shows that God always knows the right time and way to inspire each person. These ideas are not just fleeting thoughts. They are invitations for us to take part in the greater mission that God has prepared. Unexpected ideas or inspiration from God, like in the case of Moses, often come with great challenges. But they are also the moments when we are empowered, because we know that these ideas do not come from ourselves, but from God. And when we embrace His guidance, we can overcome any obstacle to accomplish what once seemed impossible. Unexpected ideas or inspiration from God can come at any time. They may appear in the most ordinary moments, but bring about great changes. The important thing is that we must be willing to listen, to trust in the suggestions that He places in our hearts. When we open our hearts to God, we will receive ideas that help us overcome difficulties, find new directions, and more importantly, feel God's presence in our daily lives. Through unexpected moments, He guides us, not only through obvious miracles, but also through subtle solutions and ideas. These moments help us understand that God never abandons us, but always watches over and guides our every step. The fifth sign, the feeling of being protected. God's protection is not always obvious, but it is always present, like an invisible hand guiding and shielding us through every hardship. The feeling of being protected by God often arises when we face adversity. Sometimes we find ourselves in difficult situations where it seems there is no way out. In such moments, the peace and trust in God's protection become the anchor that helps us overcome. We often think of protection in a physical sense, like escaping an accident or avoiding danger. But God's protection carries much deeper spiritual significance. He protects us from psychological and spiritual dangers, negative thoughts, temptations, or despair. There are times when we find ourselves on the brink of making a wrong decision, but at that very moment, a right thought or timely advice appears as if God is directly intervening, helping us avoid danger. We cannot count how many times God has intervened to protect us. Sometimes it's from dangerous situations we weren't even aware of, but somehow we were saved. Think about the times you've escaped a dangerous situation without knowing why. For instance, a man shared that one morning on his way to work, he realized he had forgotten his phone at home. Though quite annoyed at having to turn back, he decided to return to get it. Later, on his way back to the office, he came across a serious accident that had happened right on the road he would have taken if he hadn't gone back. This made him wonder, could that forgetfulness have been God's way of protecting him from danger? These situations are not merely coincidences. Sometimes they are exactly how God protects us from harm, even though we cannot foresee what will happen. These seemingly random occurrences are signs of God's constant care and protection. When we realize this, we feel lighter and more at ease, knowing that God is always by our side, watching over and protecting us, even when we may not always be fully aware of it. God's protection is not just about the physical, but also about the spiritual. When we trust that He is guiding us, we can feel safer, less anxious about the things we cannot control. Even when facing challenges and difficulties in life, we can rely on our faith in God to get through, knowing that He has a plan for everything. This feeling of protection is a sign of deep trust in the love and care God has for us. Many people also experience God's protection through advice or guidance from others. A friend, a family member, or even a stranger may appear at just the right moment to help us make the right decision or avoid a mistake. God does not only protect us invisibly, but sometimes He uses the people around us to help and shield us. In the Bible, the story of Daniel in the lion's den is an example of God's protection. Daniel was a faithful man who trusted in God despite facing many adversities. When he was falsely accused by jealous enemies, he was thrown into a lion's den as punishment. Normally, he would not have survived, but God intervened by sending His angel to shut the lions' mouths, and Daniel was unharmed. This story is not just a miraculous display of God's protection in a dangerous situation, but it is also a symbol of the protection God gives to all who trust and remain faithful to Him. It reminds us that no matter how many difficulties or dangers we face in life, God is always there to protect and shield us. When we place our trust in God, He will never abandon us. In times of danger or trial, He can use His power to protect us in unexpected and miraculous ways. This is also a reminder that not only in obvious situations like Daniel's, but also in our everyday lives, God is watching over and protecting us. We can understand that God's protection is not only through directly saving us, but also by preparing us mentally, making us strong enough to overcome difficulties. These protections may come unexpectedly and gently, like when we feel a strange sense of peace amid life's storms. We only need to trust and know that in any circumstance, He is always there, protecting us every step of the way. The sixth sign: strange coincidences. In life, we sometimes encounter events or situations that seem impossible to explain with reason. There are sequences of coincidences so uncanny that we can't help but think they are signs of guidance from a higher power. For those who believe in God, these coincidences are often seen as His way of arranging things to guide, protect, or help us find the right path in life. These are subtle but powerful signs that show God is interacting with us quietly but very effectively. Strange coincidences often come unexpectedly and happen when we least expect them. It could be a chance meeting with someone we never thought we would see again, or an event where the details align perfectly to lead us to a positive outcome. Many who experience such moments feel that something greater is influencing their lives, giving them a firm belief that God is guiding them through every small step. These coincidences can happen in any aspect of life, from important decisions like choosing a career, facing financial difficulties, to meeting someone who helps us overcome challenges or finding guidance in life. These things may seem random, but when we look back, we realize they couldn't have been mere coincidences. It is God who has arranged everything perfectly to help us overcome obstacles, find light in the darkness, and continue our life's journey with steadfast faith. Sometimes the coincidences in life are not accidental, but rather God's subtle intervention. Such sequences of events help us realize that God is always present and working mysteriously, arranging situations and relationships to help us. Strange coincidences are a reminder that, in moments when we feel lost or unsure of where to go, God has already prepared a path. This could come in the form of an unexpected friend, a job opportunity, or even timely advice from a stranger. All these things contribute to God's guidance, helping us understand that He cares and will never abandon us. Strange coincidences are not just astonishing moments, but also opportunities for us to recognize God's presence and work in our lives. These sequences of events remind us that when things seem not to go according to plan, God is still at work behind the scenes, orchestrating every small detail to help us stay on the right path. Whether we realize it or not, God is always using these coincidences to communicate messages and help us. especially in moments of need. The encounters, words, or sudden appearance of a person or opportunity are not mere coincidences, but ways in which he expresses his love and care for each of us. In life, we do not need to look for grand miracles to prove that God is interacting with us. It is through these strange coincidences that we can clearly see He is always there, working through every small detail to guide and protect us. The seventh sign: positive changes in life. When we live according to religious values, we not only feel changes within our soul, but can also clearly see positive changes in our daily lives. This is when our mood improves, relationships become more stable, and everything around us seems to flow more smoothly. These changes don't always stem from personal effort alone, but are also the result of God's influence, guiding us toward a life filled with meaning and blessings. One of the clearest signs that God is intervening and interacting in our lives is when we begin to notice positive changes, both spiritually and materially. These changes may happen gradually or unexpectedly, but they always bring a sense of peace, patience, and stronger faith in God's presence. For example, when someone begins to live according to religious values, such as compassion, forgiveness, and love, they tend to receive blessings in the form of better relationships, improved health, or even new opportunities in their work. This is not just a reflection of the good deeds they've sown, but also God's response to their efforts to live by His teachings. Moreover, positive changes in life are not limited to obvious things like success at work or financial improvement. Sometimes, these changes come in the form of inner peace, steadfast faith, and the ability to face difficulties more calmly. God's presence can help us overcome challenges not just by changing the circumstances, but by changing us, making us stronger, more patient, and more understanding. A person once shared that before they turned to God, their life was always filled with stress and chaos. Their job was unstable, relationships were tense, and it seemed that every decision they made led to failure. In an effort to find peace and meaning, they started engaging in religious activities, praying daily and reflecting on life. After a while, they noticed that life began to change positively. Their job gradually became more stable. Relationships improved as they learned to forgive and love more. The past difficulties no longer caused them stress. Instead, they felt empowered and courageous to face them. Everything wasn't perfect, but God's presence in their life helped them realize that even in hardship, there is always an opportunity to grow and improve. When we begin to align our lives with the path that God has laid out, good things will gradually appear. This doesn't mean that everything will always go smoothly or without challenges, but God always gives us strength and guidance to overcome. Positive changes can come from the outside, such as better jobs or relationships, but often the most important changes happen within, where faith, gratitude, and patience become core qualities. A clear example in the Bible of positive change is the story of Job. Initially, Job was wealthy and righteous, but he faced severe trials, losing all his possessions, family, and health. Despite this, Job remained faithful to God, and after enduring all the trials, he received back more than he had lost. God gave Job double his wealth, more children, and he lived a fulfilled life. We can see that perseverance in faith and living according to God's word will bring positive changes in life, even through difficult times. Sometimes positive changes don't come immediately, but require us to have patience and firm trust in God. While we may have to go through tough times, when we hold on to our faith, God will bless us with greater things than what we've lost. Positive change doesn't always manifest in material wealth or immediate success, but also in inner transformation, steadfastness, and loyalty to God. The positive changes in life when we live according to religious values are not only signs of spiritual growth, but also how God affirms His presence and love. These changes can start with small shifts in our behavior or thinking, but they will spread and affect every aspect of our lives, from family and work to social relationships. It is a transformation from the inside out, helping us become the best version of ourselves under God's guidance. Sometimes we don't immediately recognize these changes, but when we look back, we can clearly see how God has intervened and helped us grow. Positive changes in life are a reminder that when we live according to the path God has shown us, blessings will come, not always in material form, but sometimes as peace, joy, and contentment in our hearts. God has already prepared opportunities and abilities for us to live a meaningful life, and when we choose to follow Him, our lives will continue to change for the better. So, we have explored together the signs that show God is interacting with each of our lives. Through the peace in our hearts, unexpected ideas, or chance encounters, He is always present, guiding and protecting us in every circumstance. Always keep your heart open, listen, and feel this divine presence in your daily life. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications. When you subscribe, you will not only receive deep and inspiring messages through new videos, but also open up more opportunities to connect more deeply with your faith and discover more sacred values in life. Subscribe today to continue the journey of seeking guidance and peace from God every day.